First up is Soul Branding. Soul Branding is a bonus action only available to Minthara, which increases the target's movement speed by 1.5 meters, and its next attack deals an additional 2d4 plus 1 fire damage. This condition ends upon landing a successful attack, otherwise it lasts 3 turns. However, what makes this incredibly overpowered is that when used on a thrower, Soul Branding does not end after a throw, and the throw gets the bonus fire damage every single time. This is essentially bonus fire damage on up to 7 attacks on turn 1, and each has the potential to crit. And even after the first round of throws on the thrower, Minthara can then cast Soul Branding on another thrower, and then both of them can have Soul Branding on at the same time, throwing with bonus fire damage. You could theoretically actually get 3 throwers, all with Soul Branding, since it lasts 3 turns, and have it up on all 3. It's actually pretty insane because you wouldn't think the fire damage would apply to a thrown weapon, but it does, and it doesn't get removed when you throw, which makes this incredibly powerful. And if you like that tip, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more Baldur's Gate 3 content. Number 2 is using your hirelings to buff your entire party. So go to your camp and talk to withers to recruit a hireling, change their class to cleric, and when you do, make sure to dump as many points as possible into Constitution. And the reason you do this is because we're going to cast Warding Bond. Warding Bond grants the target resistance to all damage, which means they take half damage, and grants a +1 bonus to armor class and saving throws, and each time the target takes damage, the caster of Warding Bond takes the same amount of damage. So we'll cast Warding Bond on a character and then dismiss the hireling afterwards. They still will take half the damage while they're sitting in camp, and they can even die from it, so we want it to last as long as possible. So while leveling up your hireling, make sure to also choose the Tough feat for +2 health points per level, and ability improvement to put even more points into Constitution. But besides Warding Bond, this cleric hireling can also be used to cast Protection from Poison, which grants advantage on saving throws against being poisoned and resistance to poison damage, meaning they take only half as much. And that's not all. The cleric hireling can also cast Death Ward, which protects your character from death. The next time damage would reduce their health to 0 hit points. It remains conscious with 1 hit point left. Your hireling can also cast Freedom of Movement, making it so that difficult terrain cannot slow them down, and they can't be magically paralyzed or restrained. And then there's also Hero's Feast. Hero's Feast makes it so that you cannot be poisoned, diseased, or frightened, and it increases your maximum hit points by 12, and they make wisdom saving throws with advantage. Cleric isn't the only class that has some amazing hireling benefits though. You can also go half cleric and half transmutation wizard. You'll lose out on a Hero's Feast, but gain Transmuter's Stones and Experimental Alchemy. Transmuter's Stones like Speed, which increases the carrier's movement speed by 3 meters, and Transmuter's Stone Constitution, which grants the carrier proficiency in Constitution saving throws, which can be extremely beneficial to either get into position or to keep concentration on an important spell. And Experimental Alchemy makes you brew 2 alchemical solutions instead of 1 when combining extracts. Elixirs are so incredibly powerful in Baldur's Gate 3 that this is totally worth doing once you get ingredients like Wargfang to brew Elixir of Bloodlust. You can also use other companions rather than hirelings for these buffs. Gale, for example, is the best target for Warding Bond because for some reason he actually heals himself when he's not an active party member. So if you change his class to cleric, he can be the ideal stay at camp companion for buffs. And number 3 is refreshing traders stock. You can get new stock on traders by leveling up one of your characters. This is extremely useful on traders who sell elixirs like Bloodlust Elixir and Elixir of Hill Giant Strength or Cloud Giant Strength. You can even purchase Wargfangs, which are used to craft Bloodlust Elixirs. Dareth Bone Cloak in the Myconid colony in the Underdark is a great vendor for all 3 of these items. Just make sure not to give the noble stock to her husband, or else she won't trade with you anymore. To easily level up your characters to refresh their stock, just go to Withers and recruit a hireling. They'll start at level 1 and you can level them up one at a time, purchasing the new stock between each level, and you can do this for as long as you have gold, loading up on health potions, elixirs, Wargfangs, and whatever else. And number 4 is how to never lose on honor difficulty, so you can get that coveted golden die. The way your honor run ends is when your entire party is killed. So if a single party member is still alive, your run isn't over. So to avoid ending your run, all you need to do is always leave one active party member at camp camp at all times. Now, the downside of this is obvious. You'll be a 3-person party, but it acts as a safety net, so to speak, to prevent losing all of your progress. In the case when your 3-player party all dies, the 4th party member can just walk over to Withers and resurrect everyone. However, it is important to note that there are a few encounters where this trick won't work, like when you fight General Ketheric Thorm or the Netherbrain, so make sure to bring your whole party to those fights, because if you lose those, that's game over. And number 5 is undocumented patch 5 changes. With the introduction of honor difficulty, a lot of tricks that were commonly used no longer work in this new mode. For example, extra actions gained through Hastened or Elixir of Bloodlust will no longer benefit from extra attack. So this means basically, instead of getting 2 or even 3 extra attacks per bonus action, you'll only get 1. However, Action Surge still allows you to benefit from extra attack, which is really amazing for fighters. Pact of the Blade no longer stacks with extra attack in Honor Mode 2. This combination granted the Warlock multi-class 3 attacks per action, but now in Honor Mode they won't stack, leaving them with just 2. And certainly what I consider one of the biggest hidden changes that came to patch 5 affecting honor difficulty is that all of the damage riders that were behaving as damage sources are now all properly behaving as damage riders. Now, the reason this is a big deal is because if a damage rider acts as a damage source, then all other damage riders get applied a second time to the second damage source. And if you stack a lot of damage sources, you can really stretch the value of your damage riders, each one being applied again and again for each damage source. Items like Falara Louvre Shriek no longer creates a new damage source, along with Tavern Brawler, Blooded Great Axe, Sword of Life Stealing, and more. Another massive change happening only in Honor Mode is that Perilous Stakes can now only target allies. This Illithid power caused vulnerability to the target, but they gain life back on each attack. So if a player got the Awakened buff, you could cast Perilous Stakes as a bonus action and then basically go ham on their target, dealing double damage with all attacks, and depending on whose turn is next, your whole party will probably get double damage too before your target ever gets to take advantage of getting some health back on their attacks. This was extremely effective in boss fights to take them down super fast. And the last change, which is the least impactful, but I still find interesting, is the changes to item rarities and honor difficulty. Ring of Flinging and Returning Pike both had their rarities improved to rare. This is a great change I feel should be changed outside of Honor Mode 2, because I completely skimmed over these on my first playthrough, not knowing how great they are for playing a throwing build. Having them rare might help new players pay more attention to them and how powerful they truly are. Caustic Band has been changed from uncommon to very rare, and rightfully so for how powerful it is. Honor difficulty also came with over 100 price changes to items, so you're definitely going to have to learn how to use and gather gold more efficiently. And last, at number 6, is looting meat off of unconscious animals. Now, this is more of a funny trick, really cracked me up, but if you knock out an animal unconscious, so you turn on non-lethal attacks, you can actually loot them, and that involves taking their pork shoulder, maybe their leg, and in my case even a pig's head. Not sure how they're going to be alive after that, but they aren't actually dead. They'll wake up later just fine, even if you took some of their important parts, it seems, like their head. And that wraps up our 6 tricks you'll want to know about in patch 5. I hope you enjoyed learning about them, and if you did, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe, as it helps me out a lot. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.